You know what no one talks about? How ending a situationship can destroy you more than losing a 3-year relationship ever did. Your friends don't understand. But you weren't even together, they say. And that's exactly why it hurts so much. Tonight, we're getting into the psychology behind why situationships leave scars that actual breakups don't. And by the end, you'll finally understand why you're allowed to feel this broken over someone who never even called you their girlfriend. Section 1. The science of ambiguous loss. What you're experiencing has a name in psychology: ambiguous loss. Dr. Pauline Boss, who pioneered this concept, describes it as grief without closure, the most stressful type of loss humans can experience because resolution is impossible. When someone dies or a relationship officially ends, your brain gets finality. You can mourn what was and eventually move forward. But situationships, there was never a clear beginning, so there's no clear end. You're grieving someone who's physically gone, but was never psychologically yours to begin with. You're mourning potential, not reality. The life you imagined together. The relationship that almost was, but never quite became. Your brain desperately needs answers. What did I do wrong? Was any of it real? Did they ever actually care? But there's no closure conversation, no final text, no explanation, just silence where certainty should be. And here's what makes it unbearable. Ambiguous loss keeps you in a constant state of anticipatory grief. Part of you knows it's over, but another part keeps checking your phone, wondering if this time they'll finally choose you. Section 2. Your brain on intermittent reinforcement. Now let's talk about why you can't stop thinking about them, even though logically you know they treated you terribly. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. Here's how it worked. Sometimes they'd text you sweet things at 2 a.m. Sometimes they'd ignore you for days. Sometimes they'd act like your boyfriend in private. Sometimes they'd pretend not to know you in public. The unpredictability wasn't accidental, it was creating a dopamine addiction in your brain. Psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered that random rewards are more powerful than consistent ones. When you never know if you'll get affection or rejection, your brain releases dopamine not just when they're nice to you, but in anticipation of them being nice to you. That hope becomes the drug. And the cruel part? While you were getting those dopamine hits and becoming more invested, they were giving the dopamine hits without needing them back. You became addicted. They stayed in control. That's why you can't just get over it. Your nervous system is literally experiencing withdrawal from an inconsistent reward pattern that your brain mistook for love. A real relationship with consistent affection doesn't create this level of neurological chaos. But situationships? They hijack your brain's reward system and leave you chasing breadcrumbs like they're a feast. Section 3. Why closure is a myth. You keep thinking, if I could just talk to them one more time, if they could just explain why. But here's the hard truth. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's a boundary you give yourself. Even if they sat down and explained everything, even if they apologized, even if they admitted they were emotionally unavailable and you did nothing wrong, would it actually change how you feel? Probably not. Because what you're really looking for isn't answers. It's validation that what you felt was real. Traditional breakups give you that validation built in. You were someone's girlfriend. The relationship was real. The pain is socially recognized. But with situationships, you're grieving alone because society tells you that you shouldn't be hurting this much over nothing. The ambiguity itself is the trauma. Not knowing if they loved you, not knowing if you were special or just convenient, not knowing if any of those moments meant what you thought they meant. And your brain can't process ambiguity well. It wants clear categories, love or indifference, together or apart. real or fake. Situationships exist in the gray space that makes healing almost impossible. Section 4. Attachment theory and why this destroyed you. If you have an anxious attachment style, this probably hurt you more than it would hurt someone else. And that's not a weakness, it's just how your nervous system is wired. Research shows that people with anxious attachment experience breakups as threats to their survival. You bond deeply and quickly. You need emotional closeness to feel safe. And when that connection is threatened or unclear, your entire system goes into panic mode. So when someone breadcrumbed you, ghosted you, kept you in limbo, your brain interpreted that as life or death rejection, not dramatic, biological. Meanwhile, if they had an avoidant attachment style, which is likely if they were comfortable with all that ambiguity, they felt suffocated by the very closeness you needed to feel secure. You wanted clarity. They wanted distance. You chased. They ran. It's not that you loved wrong or too much. It's that your attachment systems were fundamentally incompatible, and you paid the emotional price for trying to force connection with someone incapable of giving it. Closing. Permission to grieve. Listen to me. You're not crazy for hurting this much. You're not weak for still thinking about them. You're not pathetic for wanting someone who couldn't choose you. What you're experiencing is one of the most psychologically painful types of loss humans can endure. Ambiguous grief without resolution or social recognition. But here's what you need to hear. You don't need their closure to move forward. You don't need them to validate that it was real for it to have mattered. You lived it. You felt it. That's enough. The pain you feel isn't proportional to the title you had. It's proportional to the hope you held. And that hope deserves to be mourned, acknowledged, and finally released. Finally, you deserved someone who was certain about you. Someone who didn't make you beg for the basics. Someone who chose you clearly, consistently, and without conditions. That person exists, but it was never them. And that's okay to grieve. If this resonated, you're not alone. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, your feelings don't need a relationship status to be valid.